Hello, this is Virtualis the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Well, hello. Now, recently I got to play 2 consecutive games of the Ponziani-Steinitz Gambit. And this is a super fun gambit which comes out of the Italian. And just to show you and remind you where it comes from, it's available for black player with black, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and now bishop c4, so beginning of the Italian. Now, traditionally, I might play the other bishop move, which sort of ends up in the Giuoco Piano, which, you know, it's a sort of positional game, not exactly my thing. So I've been playing the 2 knights defense, sort of potentially inviting the opponent to do the knight attack, so the beginning potentially of the fried liver. You know, the idea of the fried liver is the opponent can potentially sort of fork the queen and rook. Very, very good move indeed, potentially. Now here, the Ponziani-Steinitz Gambit is where you make a somewhat unexpected move and capture the pawn on e4. And you go, what? What's that about? Because it looks like it's hanging, right? But it actually isn't. So from this position, now white has 3 moves. One is they ignore the gambit and continue with the attack, with the fried liver attack, and that's what happened in game 1, and that is not good for white. The other option is that they accept the gambit, capture back the knight, feel good about themselves until the next move, which is d5, forking their knight and bishop. And again, that's not good for white, and that's what happened in game 2. Now, I didn't have a game 3 because I only got 2 consecutive games, but the best move for white here, so if you face up against the Ponziani-Steinitz Gambit, is bishop captures pawn on f7. So white is about plus 1.5 in this position. You know, black king forced move forward. Tricky, unpleasant position really for black. It's the Achilles heel of the Ponziani-Steinitz Gambit. It's not easy to play for black if white knows the best move, which is, in fact, the bishop move. Let's have a quick look at the review of this game before moving on forward. So here we go. And as you can see, I played very, very accurately here. You can see the chart from chess.com's algorithm. You know, you've got the gambit, tiny advantage to white, and then bang, you know, this major advantage afterwards. It's very, very common that, you know, the opponent just won't respond correctly and basically commanding lead all the way to the end. So let's go back to the analysis now. There we go, switch on feedback and evaluation. So my opponent continue with the attack in game 1, basically the fried liver, looking like they've going to fork those 2 pieces. But, whoops, drew the arrow wrong. We've now got queen to h4, which is a devastating move, potentially, because they must address it, because this is potentially checkmate. They have to do something about it. And it's so easy for white to make the wrong move here. And my opponent did. So g3, which is a blunder, and basically knight can straight up capture. They cannot capture back with the h-pawn because, you know, capture rook with check, and then so the queen is gone as well. So they have to pretty much capture back with the f-pawn. Now the king is wide open. Queen with check, try to block, capture the rook, check, block with queen, take the queen. They have to capture back. King now lost the right to castle, stuck on this king side with no defenders, wide open, not very good at all. Now here is a little bit of theory that is worth knowing. So for black, the best move here is d5. Might be a little bit obscure to see, but it is the best move. And, you know, when I played it, you know, Stockfish reckons it's a brilliant move. But one of the important things here is controlling the center, opening up the diagonal with check. And basically, it's a game of hunting the opponent's king. Capture, check, forced to move. Now we've got the bishop. Check, forced to move. If I wanted to, I can now attack with the knight as well. But here I actually decided 2 short castles just to get the king out of there, also bringing a rook into the picture. And I thought here I could potentially trade both of my opponent's minor pieces for a rook, which is fine, because then basically they've got 0 development. I'm completely winning. So they decide to move the king, not in the right direction, I think, and that allows me to, take out their last remaining 2 pieces. They try to develop a knight, check, move the rook, check, and now rook up, check. And there's a mating net here already. I didn't find the most efficient checkmate, but I found my own way. So the opponent captured, check, move, check, capture, but I've now got the knight with check, and now checkmate. So basically, king chased all over the board. Eventually there was a mating net, and very, very interesting how after I had the sort of queen to h4 move, the entire initiative now belonged to black. And it sometimes completely just takes, I think, the player with the white pieces off guard. So let's now move on to game 2. Now you'll see that game 2 is a less accurate game for myself. I've definitely played with quite a few mistakes, particularly in the sort of middle game, maybe towards the end game. But again, you see this sort of pattern where equal, that's the gambit, and then the opponent sort of collapses after the gambit. Now let's have a look at the analysis as well. So there we go. Let's move straight to the point of the gambit. Okay, so there we have the Ponziani-Steinitz Gambit. And in this match, the opponent didn't continue with the fried liver attack, but decided to accept the gambit instead. And again, it's bad for white. Stockfish called this one a straight up blunder. Again, you can see the bishop move is the best move because d5, and now those 2 pieces are forked. The opponent brought out the queen, which, it's not exactly obvious. What is the best move here? But the queen move is not the best move. And here, if you had the option of taking either the bishop or the knight, taking the bishop is probably best, depriving the opponent of their bishop pair, as you can see. So -4.5 already. So from this point, it's really a matter of not stuffing up for me. d3, I decided to immediately chase the queen, which apparently wasn't the best move, but the queen forced to move all the way back to d1. So effectively, I gave a little bit of tempo. I decide now to attack that knight. What are they going to do? They decide to sort of make an attack on the queen. Okay, block with bishop, happy to trade pieces. They move their knight out of the way, makes a lot of sense when under attack. And here, of course, that pawn is under attack. So I decide to defend with the bishop. Stockfish reckoned the queen was better. Knight out, the knight is otherwise blocked. But here I saw, a potential another pawn fork. And yep, there we go. There's another pawn fork. So 2 pawn forks in this match. The opponent, sort of evacuates one of their knights. That makes sense. However, let's trade, and now I capture the other knight. So now basically a full piece up. I've got development. Basically almost none of my opponent's pieces are developed other than that pawn. Makes sense. Move the queen out. Yeah, probably straight up check would have been better because probably could have potentially forced a queen trade and also opponent losing right to castle. That probably would have been best. Here I was feeling a bit skittish, I suppose. Now this was potentially a mistake because with an attack there, basically I'm having a problem with that queen. So I decide to force a trade here. And my logic here is, even though we sort of end back up almost with material balance, I've now critically damaged the defense of my opponent's king. And this will end up being significant in the end game, as we will see. So now there's a bit of shuffling with rooks. Rook and pawn end games are always a little bit tricky, but here my opponent made a bit of mistake. So with this rook here, basically I've got a potential attack here. So the opponent really needed to guard their back rank. And with that move, it allows me to infiltrate with my rook. They can't block because that would be a straight up loss. This now forces the opponent's king to move into this space here, and they're sort of blocked off by their own pawns. And this is a space that I potentially control with my rooks. And so pretty much here, yep, you can see there's mating net already. So check, move forward, check, they have forced to move forward, rook here, and pretty much next move, checkmate, is unavoidable. Good game, GG. My big takeaway, once you're above a certain elo range, avoid playing the fried liver attack, as responses like the Ponziani-Steinitz Gambit can be very good for black. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.